BXB. It's in the game!
When Fallout 76 was unveiled at this year's E3, you could even tell in that moment that perhaps Todd Howard, orator, lead developer, defender of all things Bethesda, even he wasn't quite sure of the product he had and was offering to the masses in that big blowout unveil. It's a open world, large scale, focused on multiplayer experience, which isn't exactly what you'd think of when you thought of Fallout. So what we have here with 76 opens well. It has a strong, war never changes opening. It's voiced well. It sets up things nicely, and you know what? You're taken into the situation of waking up inside a vault in a pretty exciting, if conventional, manner. But the game then starts to quickly show its differences. First of all, you do go through the now standard and in-depth character creation suite in which you can sculpt the appearance of your vault dweller to your heart's content. It's actually a really good editor, and you can come up with some truly wonderful, beautiful, and usually more entertainingly horrific creations when sculpting every element of the face and their hair, and you name it, you can make it with this creator. But then you go through that sort of bit of the opening area, which is tutorialized, and you go through the Vault 76 environs very quickly. Actually, you're given your gear and you're thrust out into the big world of the Appalachian Mountains very, very quickly. And you then realize that this perhaps isn't the Fallout game you come to know and love. It's a game focused on multiplayer. It's an open world environment with, the dozens of other players rather than hundreds, with an emphasis on survival and a complete de-emphasis on story. And that's a real problem for me. I was drawn into the Fallout games and the Elder Scrolls games mostly because it's a power fantasy. It's a fantasy that you are the one lone survivor, the one person who's going to bring justice to the wasteland, or in the case of Skyrim, a Dovahkiin, or something of that nature. So when you make a game like this, MMOified, like they did with the Elder Scrolls Online, you lose a level of specialness. You kind of lose that feeling of being important. And the world looks nice. It's built on the same engine that they've been using for a while, which is no doubt starting to show its age, and definitely has some issues with gameplay and appearance. But some of those god rays do look good, and the environments can certainly look pretty. The fact that it's a little bit less of an irradiated wasteland adds a bit of variety to the forest and the streams, and it gives you some sort of creatures and stuff. What it doesn't give you, however, are any NPCs. Every bit of quest that's given to you is pretty much given to you through discovered notes and logs or audio tapes, and it means it's a very sterile experience, especially as if you're playing it like myself, predominantly in single player. I have no desire to play a game like this in a multiplayer way with lots of other gamers and stuff like that. That's just not what brings me to a Bethesda open world RPG, not in the slightest. And that's on me. If perhaps you are going in with dozens of friends that you want to team up with and build fantastic civilizations with, then you'll probably have a slightly better experience. Judging by my friends list, everybody's still kind of playing Red Dead Redemption right now, and they're not playing Fallout. That's not a problem with the game, it's just a slightly unfortunate release timing, I suppose. But let's get back to the way the story is sort of given to you in Fallout 76, because it really isn't. Even with those audio tapes, which are often long-winded monologues of dialogue and exposition, the audio balance is so poor in them that it's quite clear that Bethesda doesn't really care if you really get the story or not. It knows that the people playing this aren't going to be giving two flying shits about what the actual narrative is. And that's a real problem for me. That's a real shame, because where's that driving force to push you through the experience? In addition to that, the game is buggy. The game feels like it's early access. It doesn't feel like a full £55 or $60 release that even has an £80 special edition. And guess what? Even on top of that, has microtransactions for cosmetics. You earn a lot of the microtransaction currency, easy for me to say, very, very quickly. The atoms in the game anyway, and often you can make enough to buy the most high-priced items within just a few hours of play. But the fact that there is an option to go into the store there and buy more of these atoms is pretty egregious, especially when the game is as thin as it seems. The problem is, though, more than any of that, is that you look at Fallout 76 and you realise there's actually a core experience here that's could be quite a lot of fun to play. The combat is very much the same as it was in Fallout 4, for better or worse. But the fact that this is an online shared world means VATS is kind of useless. VATS in the past was the way that the combat system would deal with its slight jankiness, to pause combat so you could target limbs, and in Fallout 4 slow down combat to almost pause state. Of course, because it's a shared world, there is no pausing in VATS, which means that all it does is give you a slightly improved accuracy bonus over targeting particular limbs if you spec'd into that area. I found myself barely ever using it. So trying to use the guns in a conventional look down the sights kind of way can become a real problem in Fallout 76 due to some of the technical problems. Frame rate can be just atrocious and single digit at times. I don't know if this is because it's trying to talk to the server or just because the engine can't cope with the scope of the game. It's really, really bad. Beyond that, bugs such as enemies getting stuck in walls and clipping issues, textures not loading, falling through the scenery, falling through the world. There's this hilarious new power armor glitch, whereas if you go use a power armor, you might sort of, I don't know, you don't look like you're wearing armor, but your body is stretched and naked into the shape of the power armor. It's really disturbing, but also really hilarious. Do look it up. And you know, you expect a certain level of jank in a Bethesda open world game, especially at launch, but even by those standards, this is egregious. The game doesn't feel done, and it's amazing to me that it has been released in this state. I know the way Todd Howard talked about it was almost as if it was some kind of experimental release, and that's what it kind of feels like. It feels like it could have done with another 6 months in the oven, and I know Bethesda are going to continue to support the game with weekly patches and new content updates, and you know, things will get better. But where it stands right now, this is a very hard game to recommend, even coming from these titans of development sort of greatness that are Bethesda Gameworks. You know, with such incredible slews of releases that make you stand up and take notice of the quality of those experiences. It's just not there yet in 76. Sure, we've got a big emphasis on this open world survival thing, which is really hot right now. Yeah, the base building is back from Fallout 4 as well, if you cared about such things. Many people didn't even touch upon that in Fallout 4, and it was almost one of those things that was put in there and expanded upon by Bethesda, but without really thinking about what the gamer wanted. I don't think people particularly want that base building experience. They've done their best to make this a survival game that's actually pretty easy on the survival elements for people that aren't used to that concept, by making things like, you know, transferable bases, i.e. you can build everything in one spot and then basically uproot it and take it anywhere you want to put it for a small cost. You know, that's pretty friendly. There's a fast travel system in there as well with a small cost, but it's easy to use and you can get around very simply. But yeah, at the end of the day, Fallout game without a story, with a focus on multiplayer, which doesn't always work, which disconnects you from the server and kicks you back to the main menu as often as it doesn't. This game needs more time, and I certainly wouldn't consider buying it right now, and I probably wouldn't be playing it right now unless I was reviewing it. So this is a really sort of disappointing sort of score I'm going to have to give Fallout 76 at this time. I think it will get better. I think they'll support it, and I think they'll bring more features to the experience. However, right now, I can't in good conscience, and you know, that's all you can do, is score a game for a review at the time you're playing it, and all I can give Fallout 76 right now is 2 out of 5 stars.
BXB. It's in the game.